Morning. It is Stone at Me. I almost said Sack Up with Dan Dakich right here. 9 to 11 every day except for Fridays. At least Fridays for the next couple of weeks. I don't know why, but that's what they told me. All right. First and foremost, happy Veterans Day to all of you that have served, to all of you that serve. I know there's a lot of folks serving overseas in Indiana that watch and listen to this show and watch and listen to my show from 12 to 3. And I'm also going to say this, and I've said this forever. My generation, I'm 58 years old, 59 years old, holy hell. We're the first people that did not have to serve our country. And I think that's really hurt our country. I'm not going to lie. When I talk to veterans, and I talk to them all of the time, man, am I impressed by their selflessness. And man, am I unimpressed with people my age and the kids that we've raised selfishness. I have a friend, Rocky Carter. Rocky Carter is a vet. He hangs out on the corner of Meridian Street and the Circle, right downtown, south side of the Circle. And every Thursday he's out there, and every Thursday I give him $100. And every Thursday we sit down and we just have a chat. And this dude is so conscientious, he's embarrassed where he is he's not homeless, but he's got to be out in the street because he can't work. But he's so conscientious that he makes sure that he has his service card, and he makes sure that he has all of his identification to prove exactly who he is. That's exactly the type of people that serve our country, and I cannot thank you enough. And I'm embarrassed that I never had to serve. I wish I had. I would not have wanted to, and I remember going and signing up at the post office for the draft. I did not get drafted. I think it would have made me a better person had I gotten drafted. I think it would have made me a much better person had I served. I think it would make our country a lot better if people gave instead of took and took and took and took and took. And I think social media is the end all be all. And to that end, I want to go through something that happened. I don't know if it happened last night. I don't know if it happened this morning, but it's arguably one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever seen. I don't follow this Kyle Rittenhouse case. I really haven't followed it. It's not something that I am going to spend a lot of time on in my life, but I am following reaction. And actually, I'm not following reaction if you want to know the truth. But the other day, actually last night, LeBron James did something that, I know he's your all's king. And I know because he can dribble and put a basketball through a hoop that everybody jumps up and down and loses their mind, and this is the greatest guy, and what he says actually matters. And, and I like LeBron James. True story. I went to visit his high school when he was in high school, and LeBron James, frankly, nobody ever said a bad word about him at his high school. Nobody ever did. Nobody ever said anything cross. He was great to everybody. And I always respected that because a lot of you don't understand this. But in his time, LeBron James was literally, even in high school, the biggest thing that there was. I mean, seriously, the biggest thing was LeBron James, even in high school. I mean, the thing in Ohio was LeBron James drove a Hummer to school. I don't know who paid for it. I don't even care. Didn't care at the time. I was coaching at Bowling Green in Ohio. And that was a big deal. And he wasn't going to play in college anyway. So what difference did it make? The Ohio High School Association made him ineligible, then let him be eligible, whatever. But I've always had a lot of respect for LeBron James. I think he's a pretty good guy. And Maverick Carter, his business partner, is a guy that I coached against, and by all accounts, a great dude. But I'm just stunned by some of the stupidity that comes out of people's mouth. This 18-year-old kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't know if he's going to be guilty. I don't know if he's going to be innocent. I have no idea. I'm not a defense attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. My brother and sister were and are. Well, I guess my sister's retired now. But I don't have any, I don't know. But I do know this. I do know that it is an 18-year-old kid fighting for his life. And there are studies that show people's brains don't fully develop until they're 24 or 25 years old. So here's a kid at his murder trial on the stand crying as he describes the events of August 25th, 2000 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And your king, your guy, the guy that we're all supposed to pay attention to, the guy that you all worship, the guy that, says, "What tears?" I think we have the tweet. I think it's going to be on my back here. I don't know. But what tears? I didn't see one. Man, knock it off. This is LeBron James talking. That boy ate some lemon heads before walking into court. See, we don't have empathy anymore. We have stupidity. That's all we have. We just simply have stupidity. We have a guy that sees an 18-year-old crying in court, and he wants to take a shot at him with all the influence that he has. Now, you can say to me, what about what happened here? What about what happened there? I really don't care what about what happened here or what about what happened. You have 50,300,000 followers for LeBron James, and that's the kind of stupidity, that's the kind of unempathetic, dumbass comments that a guy makes with that kind of media social power. That's where we're at as a country. That's where we're at. And if you want to know why people are against one another, if you want to know sides are clearly drawn, whether it's race or whether it's politics, that's it right there. I don't know whether the kid's guilty or not. I don't know. But I know that your king, the self-described your king, put something like that out, shows that your king is a dumbass. That's what it shows. Period. And we need to get back to being a little more empathetic. I don't care if it's a kid in Kenosha, Wisconsin, a kid in Chicago, Illinois, Indianapolis, Indiana, my town, Gary, Maryville, Indiana. I don't care. But we need to have a little empathy for people. A little man. Here's a young kid, 18 years old. Hey, did he do right? Did he do wrong? That's for a court to decide, I suppose, and that's for his own conscience to decide. It's not for some clown basketball player that thinks it's a good thing to tell what tears, question whether the kid's crying. Man, knock it off. Like we're supposed to listen to some basketball player. Some basketball player that a lot of people feel like faked a situation at his own house, spray painting stuff. A basketball player that's shown himself to be dishonest, but ultimately a basketball player. Yeah, he's a business guy. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. But I don't know about you, but to me, Michael Jordan's a basketball player. To me, Steve Kerr's a basketball coach. So you can get into all these things these folks are supposed to be. But bottom line is that's what they are, and that's how you know them. And LeBron James's tweet today is ignorant. I'll take whatever smoke you all want to bring to me, because when you have absolutely zero empathy for an 18-year-old kid on a witness stand describing the events of him being on a trial for murder, and you put out something like that, you are nothing more than a jackass. However you want to come at me, I'm sure there'll be some ist involved. There's always ist when somebody, like me says anything about one of our, quote, superstars. You're always some type of ist. But you can come at me with whatever the hell you want. But that is complete and total garbage. Other thing, nobody should be surprised that Adam Schefter completely and totally screwed up this Dalvin Cook lawsuit thing. Nobody should be surprised. I mean, you got to understand something. When you have these insider guys, they're totally in bed with the league and the team. Otherwise, how do they become, quote, insider guys? What happened was Dalvin Cook, who is a running back, again, I don't know if he's guilty. I don't know if he's innocent. I have no idea. He's got a lawsuit that accuses him of assault. And when Adam Schefter, ESPN's number one, actually you can make the argument, Stephen A. Smith, Adam Schefter, and Woj are the three most powerful people, not wearing a suit at ESPN. But the truth of the matter is, when Adam Schefter reported this, he reported some nonsense, or at least what has been disputed as nonsense, straight from the agent of Dalvin Cook, basically taking one side. Well, the Minnesota newspaper came out with a totally different side, came out with more evidence, came out with supposedly, allegedly text from Dalvin Cook to his girlfriend. Totally different. And Schefter had to come on yesterday again and say, hey, look, I could have handled this better. Look, don't make no misunderstanding. This is one of the reasons that I really dislike the media. I don't use the word hate very often, but I hate them. I hate what they do to regular people. Because a guy like Schefter, a guy like Woj, any of these insider guys are totally in bed with the players, the coaches, the front office, and the agents, because that's where they get their information. That's where they get their money. You saw with Schefter in the Washington football team emails, where Schefter literally asked Bruce Cook, the president of the Washington Redskins, then as it was called 10 years earlier, to basically edit one of his stories. Don't let that surprise you. You saw Wojnarowski, which is still unbelievable to me, tell Josh Hawley, I believe it was Hawley, who is a U.S. Senator, to F off because Hawley had the audacity to question the NBA. These guys are completely in bed. They're the most powerful people. They don't need a victim. They don't need the victim. They don't need the victim's side, and Schefter clearly showed that. What they need is the league, the player. What they need is the agent. Why? Because that's the person that gives them the information. That's the person that they go to. I just had to get those two things off my chest. You know, your king, good for you. I have one king, Jesus Christ. That's my king. Like it, don't care. Read the Bible every day, believe in God. That's my king. I have one idol when I was growing up. Two, actually, my brother, my older brother, and my father. That's it. I don't idolize some freaking basketball player. And I certainly can't understand how you all can as well when there's absolutely no empathy for an 18-year-old kid crying on a stage. That's the world that crying on a witness stand. That's the world that we're living in. Just had to get that off my chest. I'm not here to sugarcoat things, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not here to kiss anybody's ass, and I'll take whatever smoke anybody wants to bring to me because that's the way it is. But we do have a monster show today. We do. Paul Kuharski, who is on Outkick 360. We're going to talk all things NFL, including my belief that Ryan Tannehill just might be the MVP of the league. If this keeps up, that league is the NFL. We'll come back with the legend of Outkick 360, the great, not the good. No. The great Paul Kuharski. We got a monster for you today. We're going to break down some games both in the NFL and in college. Those of you that listen to my radio show in Indy know the name Alan Cashman. Alan Cashman is like 18-4 picking games on my radio show in college. He's like 9-2 in the NFL. He's a brilliant dude. I don't get paid to have Alan Cashman on, but I am having Alan Cashman on because he's the best at what he does in terms of getting you set up for a weekend of gambling. We're going to have a monster show. If you want to react to what I said, please feel free to do so on YouTube. There'll be some interaction as we move forward. My man, Outkick 360, knows more about the NFL than anybody. Paul Kuharski next. Hey, there's nobody, and I mean nobody, that covers the NFL better than Outkick 360's Paul Kuharski, and I'm really, really excited to have him on our show because I like talking football, and I like talking football with smart people. And my friend Paul Kuharski is the smartest. All right, I'm going to get right into it because I know you're pressed for time. If this continues for the Titans, I'm going to contend. I don't know that he's going to be the MVP, but your boy Ryan Tannehill is going to be in the conversation by the time this season ends, Paul. What do you say to that, yay or nay?
Nay, he's not going to be in the conversation. He's got 11 touchdowns and 8 picks. He runs into the end zone occasionally as well. Good player, not having nearly as good a season as he's had the last two. A little careless with some of these interceptions that has to stop. You know, it's weird. He could get away with a lot. The Titans can get away with a lot down the stretch here. They've got the easiest remaining schedule in the league. They play Houston twice. They've got the Jaguars again. They've got Miami, and they've got such a big lead on the Colts. They're going to be able to kind of coast into the postseason. They don't want to hear about it, but a lot of what they do from now to the end of the season is all about positioning for the playoffs and making sure that they're in maximum position personnel wise to be ready to win a first round game. The worst they're going to do is a 4 seed. Tannehill's very good, but he's not at MVP level compared to a lot of these other quarterbacks.
End of the year, top 5. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? Fifth, and better yet, second is the same as 0. It's a one name thing.
All right. A lot of people, I live in Indy, man. You know, the Colts had their chance, but a lot of people ask me, and I think the answer is no, but correct me, does Derrick Henry have any chance to come back even in the playoffs?
Well, it depends on who you're listening to.
Right.
Adam Schefter vehemently says no. Ian Rappaport gives him a chance. They, of course, won't say a word to me, which I don't understand at this stage with the guy of that. You know, I can get information up to this level, Dan. Then when it turns into a guy above here, it shifts into national mode.
Which I don't understand. I argue with the Colts all the time. You guys are fools. We're the ones here every day. Like, what are you doing? I don't get that, Paul.
I don't understand it either, but I like to think it's predominantly agents, and I don't like to spend my time chasing agents on the phone. And I understand, look, if a guy's got 5 million Twitter followers compared to my 100,000, it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to be spending time with me. But even if he's back, I think there are too many fans that are thinking you're going to drop Derrick Henry back into the lineup for a playoff game and he's going to give you 28 carries for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I don't think you're going to get the same guy in his first game back, or even if he gets a couple games at the end of the regular season. I think you'd be hard pressed to get the same guy. I think you'd get a lesser version of the same guy. Certainly, you'd rather have that guy than not have him, because what they're piecing together now in the backfield certainly isn't going to be the same when you lose the best running back in football. But whether he's back or not, they're going to have to be different than they have been. And look, they're going into this weekend against the best run defense in football, the New Orleans Saints. It would have been great to have seen what Henry could do against him. The Falcons last week accepted, hey, we want to run the football. They ran it 25 times, Dan. They averaged 1.4 yards per carry. They just traded carries for, to measure out to balance out their offense, and they didn't seem to care if they got yards or not.
Let me ask you this, because I don't. Maybe I'm wrong here. Julio Jones been a little disappointment so far.
Oh, a lot disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, he had one good game in Seattle week 2. He's been scratched a lot. He's been held back late in games a lot because of a balky hamstring. Finally played a full game this last weekend in Los Angeles against the Rams, which was really a defensive win. They need to crank him up. That's part of, this was going to be a pick your poison offense with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and Derrick Henry. Now Henry's out of the mix. they really need to get both wide receivers going. A.J. Brown had a tough game against Jalen Ramsey, but he's been very good when he's been healthy. So hopefully they get A.J. Brown and Julio Jones both going, and Jones doesn't have any more setbacks with this hamstring.
Let me go this route with you, Paul, because people are telling me the AFC is no good. I look at the AFC and I say, well, maybe not. I mean, I get teams are struggling. Who do you see as the best in the AFC?
It's hard not to take the Titans right now. I think there's this thing, how teams sometimes just figure out how to win.
Yes.
New England did this all the time, right? They didn't necessarily have the best people, or they were missing people. The Titans have missed, their best cornerback's been out for several weeks, Christian Fulton. Now they figured out a way to win without Henry against the Rams, who I thought were fantastic going into this game. And the Titans are doing that. We've seen other teams do it. Baltimore's done it without some key people. They lose their left tackle, running back. They're down to their sixth guy. I think the Ravens are probably very good too. Those are the two teams I'd say give me in the AFC. But I think there's a ton to be sorted out there still. The one team I'm out on, Dan, is Kansas City. Everybody says, there's still that division's still clogged up and there's time for them to figure it out. I saw them here in Nashville, very unimpressive. I watched them against Green Bay. They should have clobbered the Packers and won 14-7. I just don't think they have it. And I think it's a setback year for them to kind of reconsider the way they failed to build around their core. And I think they're going to wind up out of it this year and lamenting the way they failed to build.
Hey, Paul, I want to get back to something you said, because I look at the best teams as how you're actually doing, right? And you just mentioned it with Kansas City. Kansas City, we can talk about the Super Bowls. We can talk about Mahomes, but not doing very well. I was watching Sunday Night Football, and when Tony Dungy speaks, I listen. And immediately he went to, the Ravens. But I'm sitting there going, how does anybody think that anybody is playing better than the Titans right now? Like, I love the Ravens. Can't wait to watch them. I have a man crush, big one on Lamar Jackson. But you look at what the Ravens have done, what the Titans have done, Paul, against the teams they've done it. Pretty impressive, man. I don't think anybody's had a streak like that in a long time in the NFL. I really don't.
Well, last month when the schedule came out, they knew it was going to be really tough. And I think fans here in Nashville thought, especially when they were beat up, 2-2 would be a victory. They had the Bills here on a Monday night. They had the Chiefs here in Nashville. Then they went to Indianapolis, the second game in that matchup where they swept the series before this year twice in the history of the division. And then at LA on a Sunday night. And they swept those 4 games. Now, traditionally, this team would have a big letdown after something like that against the Saints here on Sunday. I feel like they're different now. And the Saints obviously are playing either Trevor Siemian or Taysom Hill. So that's a different story as well. But they keep finding ways. They're very resilient. It gets kind of boring to hear them talk about their resiliency, but it's kind of their hallmark. And that's a pretty good hallmark to have in the AFC, the way it's structured right now. And they really, I talked about their soft schedule. Their tough games are the Saints this weekend. They have a trip to New England and they have a trip to Pittsburgh. And that's not a killer stretch by any means either.
Yeah, a while back it would have been, about 10 years ago. It would have been a hell of a stretch, But I also want to stay with this. I rail on this, Paul. After every freaking game, man, if a team doesn't play well, the coach is so afraid to call out players. I mean, I heard LaFleur after the debacle that they had in Kansas City with Love as the quarterback. Well, that's on me. I get the impression that Mike Vrabel isn't that guy. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I get the impression that Mike Vrabel isn't afraid of players and isn't afraid to hold people accountable. And I don't know. I think you see that in the tougher games. Am I wrong about that? Am I just reading too much into Vrabel's toughness in past?
Well, he's certainly not afraid in-house, but he strikes that balance where he's a player's guy, but certainly holds guys to account. He's very adaptable with the practice schedule. I mean, they're beat up, and last week they had, a walkthrough on Wednesday and a jog through on Thursday. And that's while they're bringing in 2 new running backs in Adrian Peterson and Deontay Foreman, who hadn't played. And, they needed time in pads. So he's balancing that as well. We had Dan Shaughnessy, the Boston Globe columnist, on Outkick 360 yesterday to talk about his new book about the Celtics, which is it's fantastic stuff. But then we ended up talking a little bit about the Patriots. And he was talking just about, the Patriots resurgence and how many coaches pee down their leg when they look across the sideline at Belichick and how that favors New England down the stretch here. And he said Vrabel certainly is not one of those guys. And the Titans have had big wins against the Patriots throughout Vrabel's career already, including in Tom Brady's last game, a playoff game up in Foxborough. And Vrabel certainly has that swagger, intensity, and confidence that a lot of these coaches that you're talking about end up being kind of mousy in big moments. Vrabel's not mousy.
Yeah, that's what you sometimes win the game before the game's even started in a lot of different ways. Who's the best team? Who's the MVP of the league? I gave you mine that's going to end up in the top 5. Is Brady that good? I mean, and why aren't we taking TB12, you and me? We'd have hair, we'd be cute,
I think it's too expensive.
Okay.
I think we're both doing better now, but I don't know if we're doing TB12 better.
No.
Also, I don't think it. I think we're old, and I think you got to get into the fountain of youth before a certain cutoff point.
I agree
on this TB12 stuff. I don't love the MVP conversation at this stage. But I mean, there are a lot of good candidates. And I think I'm not saying he's MVP right now. I think he's going to wind up being MVP. Dak Prescott. I think Dallas is kind of the Titans of the NFC in that their division is incredibly weak. I know they just suffered a terrible loss to Denver. I was trapped in a Los Angeles hotel room where I didn't have game options and I had to watch that game. And it was very tempting to turn away. And I was reading my phone, certainly through a lot of it. But I think Dak Prescott in the end is going to have numbers and groundswell of support. It's going to be a quarterback. We know that. Derrick Henry wasn't going to win it, even if he stayed healthy and got 2,000 yards again. It's a quarterback award now. I'd go to DraftKings and put my money on Dak Prescott.
Last thing before I let you go, Aaron Rodgers, what's your take on that situation?
Look, I'll take all the medical stuff and put it aside, even though I think he's wrong on those fronts. He lied, and he's getting different standards applied to him than everybody else. Ryan Tannehill, your guy, was vaccine reluctant. But at the beginning of training camp, he stood at the podium and he said, without the vaccine, I can't lead this football team the way I need to lead this football team. I can't not eat lunch with guys. And I can't not have small group meetings with these guys. Therefore, the league has structured it that I need to get the vaccine in order to lead this football team. Now, I asked him yesterday, how would you feel if somebody didn't get the vaccine and was still able to do all that stuff, which it sounds like Aaron Rodgers was, and he didn't bite, he wouldn't go there. But if Aaron Rodgers was able to do all those things and Ryan Tannehill got the vaccine in order to be able to do all those things, it's completely unfair. It's about following the rules, and it's about the application of the rules being consistent. We hate the rules being applied inconsistently with the officiating, with everything else. And the Packers are kissing Aaron Rodgers' ass, and maybe the league is as well. It's completely unfair. I'm sick of the guy outside of when he's on the field. He doesn't make a lot of sense. He needed a lot of babying to get back in there and everything. At some point, go play. And I think Ryan Tannehill and a lot of guys around the league should be resentful of the way this whole thing went down.
I went south on Aaron Rodgers when and this is me being a moron. I don't know if you saw the video, but his lineman chugged a beer at a Bucs game. They put it over to Aaron Rodgers. He couldn't chug a beer. If you can't chug a beer, you can't lead men. I'm sorry. You just, go have your scotch, all that crap. But if you can't chug a beer in front of people, it's like I got a story about my daughter and her sorority challenging me to chug a beer. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do this faster than any human being alive because the pressure's on. You got to do it. So he lost me then. And, I've defended him, but I'm just curious your take on it, my man. 3-6 today?
3-6 Eastern, Outkick 360. Follow us anywhere, broadcast, waves, stream. Let's put it that way.
You're the best, man. You're the best. Thanks, Paul.
Hey, enjoyed it. Happy for your success and looking forward to peeking in
last
on the
thing,
show when I can.
Last thing. I know you got to run, but I did want to say this. I was listening to you guys, and you saw this Derrick Henry injury coming, did you not? You guys had talked about that.
Well, I don't know that we saw it coming. We said, inevitably something's going to happen to him. I didn't think it would happen this year. I read a great story, I think, at the Ringer where they said, you never think it's going to happen until it happens. But with running backs, with a big workload, it's coming. It's just a matter of when. I'm with Mike Vrabel. I don't worry about the workload. I say worry about now, and worry about later. It's just that later arrived sooner than expected.
And somebody, I think it was Chad, was talking about the turf here. Anyway, I know you guys.
Yeah, is the turf there as bad as I hate to think the turf had a big bearing on it.
No, they spent a lot of money on it. If it is, they got to fire whoever spent the money and whoever put it in.
They got to fire the designer that didn't consider the shadows of the roof.
Preach, brother. Preach. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, that thing. I know you got to run. I know you're busy. Thanks, my friend.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
All right. Hey, check them out. Eastern, 3 to 6, Central, 2 to 5. Outkick 360. Really good. It's my go-to. It just is. That's Paul Kuharski. Very, very, very good. All right. I got a lot to say to you peoples. We'll come back and we'll talk about it in a minute.
I love talking to Paul Kuharski. We're going to have Alan Cashman set you up for the weekend in gambling. We're not on coming up here on Friday. I don't, there's something else going on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, here is the segment we know as Hot Takes. First and foremost, I don't care. Not even a little bit. I don't care how well Paul George plays for the Clippers. Paul George is going to show himself to be a choke and a fraud in the playoffs. All I'm hearing, and I got bias. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I've got bias. I've got a lot of bias. And one of those biases is Paul George lied to everybody in Indy and left. And I've just watched him over the years. And there are some guys that show up, and there are some guys that don't show up. And frankly, he's a guy that doesn't show up. He really doesn't. So get mad, glad, angry, or sad at me. Guy doesn't show up. Needs to show up. I want him to show up. I think he's a nice guy. He co-hosted with me one time in studio, and I really liked him. I did. I thought he was a great dude. But the truth of the matter is, he don't show up. And he won't show up as the playoffs go along. As we go into things, my number four hot take is this. And I don't know what you all think. I don't know how you all go about your business. But Penny Sarver, I don't know what everybody has looked at or not looked at. So I want to make sure. I want to make sure that gosh darn, I got to stop this over here. I apologize. But Penny Sarver, her husband is the owner of the Phoenix Suns. And her husband is, I don't know, I guess he's under attack, you'd say. There's a big article about it. There's a investigative report on Robert Sarver, her husband, and there's not a criminal charge. So Penny Sarver sent messages to 3 former Phoenix Suns employees. Basically, those messages were, hey, look, are you comfortable ruining people's lives? Are you comfortable lying? Now, people are going to say, well, that's intimidation. Well, there's no civil suit. I mean, there's no charges. Why wouldn't you do that as a wife? Why wouldn't you try to defend your husband? Why wouldn't you want to, contact the people that are coming out against your family? People always say, well, you can't get family members involved, right? Well, every article that's ever been written about me, my kids have read, and it's affected them, and the people writing the articles don't seem to have any problem with that. Family members should get involved in protecting their family. I watch Succession. I mean, there's always divides. I don't know what's going on here, but hey, look, good, in my opinion, good for Penny Sarver for trying to help her husband. A criminal case? You can't do it. It's intimidation, witness tampering, that kind of stuff. We all get that. But are you kidding me? Some article written at ESPN.com? Who cares? Who gives a rat's ass whether or not the wife of the guy under the, quote, investigation contacts people? She should. All right, this one's going to get me in trouble. I got my girl dad shirt on. Every time I talk about this, people get mad at me. This is hot take number 3. Carson Wentz is playing Sunday. Carson Wentz is playing for the Colts. Carson Wentz has had a pretty good year. A couple bad plays that those that are lazy in the media kill him on. One bad play. Carson Wentz, Sunday, his wife is due to give birth. Carson Wentz said he and his wife talked and he's going to play. Allison Williams said it yesterday on our show. She was trying, I guess, to time her children's birth by her work schedule. I did it. I absolutely did it. When I was coaching at Indiana for Bob Knight, I was going to have a child in August or I was going to have a child in May. Why? Those are the 2 months that I was available. I didn't get paid very much as an assistant coach. I needed the camp check in June. You're not worth much as an assistant coach back then if you couldn't go on the road and recruit in July, the entire month. So when do you have a kid? September, the students are coming back and the season starts. April's recruiting. March is March Madness. February is the end of the Big Ten season. January is the start. So I was having kids, man, May or August. Period. My son was born May 10th. My daughter, we had a little slippage June 2nd. I had no problem with that. I had no problem with Carson Wentz. My problem would be if, like, a lot of old school dads, I think my dad went to my childbirth. I don't know. I don't think my grandfather went to my dad's, but old school dads used to go hang at a bar and pass out cigars. That's not the way you should do it. But playing on the day of your child's birth, I got no problem with it, and I would have done it. In fact, my wife would have demanded that I do it. All right, number 2, and this is interesting to me. Odell Beckham Jr. has all these options. Like, he cleared waivers, but he has all these options. He's considering the Chiefs. He's considering the Packers. He's considering the Patriots. He's considering the Saints. Being a jackass, there are 2 things that are true in sports. One, cheating in college absolutely prospers as a coach, 100%. I mean, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I never cheated. I never even thought. I was nervous about cheating. I left West Virginia and $3.5 million on the table because I wasn't going to be involved in cheating when I was the head coach there. But it absolutely pays in college. And being a jackass in professional sports absolutely pays if you have enough talent. I mean, this dude is now, Odell Beckham Jr. is now on a tour. Well, he cleared waivers. So now the Seahawks, the Patriots, the Saints, the Packers, the Kansas City Chiefs are all involved. I tell you, best place he should go. Best place he should go, Green Bay Packers. He should become the AB to Aaron Rodgers. What AB is to Tom Brady, he should become to Aaron Rodgers. Go to Green Bay, nothing to do, right? Live with Aaron Rodgers if you'd like. Work on your image, work on your skills, work on getting back to being a decent receiver in the NFL. That's what, and have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Then you can do all the other nonsense that comes with winning a Super Bowl. You can do the commercials, you can do all that stuff. You go to the Saints, you ain't winning the Super Bowl. You don't have quarterback enough to win the Super Bowl. You go to the Chiefs, you're not going to straighten out a bad offensive line. You go to the Patriots, maybe that's a decent spot. I don't know. But you got a rookie quarterback. You think a rookie quarterback going to win the Super Bowl? You think a rookie quarterback's going to do anything for you? Because let's be honest, Odell Beckham Jr. is all about one person and one person only. Odell Beckham Jr. Mac Jones isn't going to lead him to a Super Bowl. The only place for Odell Beckham Jr. to go, if he has an agent that has any stones, is he's got to go to Green Bay, and he's got to go to Green Bay, period. My number one hot take, and we just talked to Paul Kuharski about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's no longer in the league, at least this year. He'll be in the league next year. The best running back in the NFL is Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. You can talk about all these guys. Jonathan Taylor right now is the leading rusher in the league with Henry out. He's averaging just under 6 yards a carry, has had an 83-yard run, has had a 76-yard pass catch and run. Jonathan Taylor of the Colts, second-round pick out of Wisconsin, is best running back in the league. He's one of the few running backs. Barry Sanders reminded me of Walter Payton because Barry Sanders, I think, did everything. Maybe I'm wrong. But Jonathan Taylor will block. Jonathan Taylor will go catch a ball. I'm sure if they asked Jonathan Taylor to throw a pass, I think Jonathan Taylor would probably make a throw. I think Jonathan Taylor probably come down. Walter Payton, I don't know how many touchdown passes Walter Payton had, but it's more than 5 in his career. I got to tell you, when I watch the Colts, the number one thing I'm watching is Jonathan Taylor, because every time Jonathan Taylor gets a damn ball in his hands, you know what's going to happen? Something pretty good. Now, the Colts have America's most overrated offensive line, and everybody loses their mind on it, and that's cool. But the truth of the matter is, Jonathan Taylor isn't good. Jonathan Taylor's great. And I don't really throw around great all that much. I just don't. I guess, however it goes, we're supposed to or we're not supposed to. But that's what I got. I got Jonathan Taylor as the best running back in the league. That's my 5 hot takes. So let's review. Paul George, choker and fraud. I do not care what you tell me. I do not care what it looks like right now. I mean, it's freaking, what is it, November? What did George Steinbrenner call Dave Winfield, Mr. May, and Reggie Jackson was Mr. October? Paul George, Mr. November. Penny Sarver contacting Suns personnel is what family's supposed to do, no question about it. Carson Wentz playing on the day his wife is expecting, to me, is absolutely awesome. I mean, you can get mad at me all you like, but I think it's absolutely awesome. I think it's what you're supposed to do. Who knows? I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's my hot take. I would do it. My wife would expect me to do it. She would. Green Bay, the best spot for OBJ, no question about it. And, of course, Jonathan Taylor's the best running back in the league. I think those all make sense. All right, we always go to a today in some big league stupidity. And usually it's the NFL, the NBA, could be hockey, could be baseball. Hell, I don't know. It could be any of those you want. But today, our stupidity changes course a little bit. Women's soccer. Do you guys remember when Tanya Harding kneecapped Nancy Kerrigan? Guy's name was Jeff Gillooly, Tanya Harding's insane boyfriend. It became a national story. It was at a skating rink. A couple guys came up, kneecapped her, took some, pipes and hit Nancy Kerrigan in the knees because she was a competitor of Tanya Harding. Well, we had a similar incident in women's soccer overseas. Paris Saint-Germain. That's the name of the club. A French player named Anna Nada Diallo was arrested in connection with the attack of a teammate. Now, on the surface, this just looks like we got in a fight, we're throwing hands, you know what I mean. But no. There is a woman whose name is, man, I'm going to screw this up, and I've actually asked people. Haria Hamora. She's 31 years old. She is the teammate of Ms. Diallo. She, Hamora, was riding in Diallo's car with other teammates after leaving a team dinner in, I guess this is Paris. When the car was in front of Diallo's home, 2 masked men dragged Hamriara out of the car and began hitting her legs with iron bars. She was taken to the hospital. How about that? And not able to play. Now, guess what? Diallo just so happened to be the player that replaced the aforementioned Hamirora, who got kneecapped by friends of Diallo. They both play the same position, defensive midfield, and compete for spots both on Paris Saint-Germain and the French women's national team. The NBA's nuts. The NBA will give you stuff on a daily basis. They will give it to you. They will absolutely put it right there in front of you. Major League Baseball will give it to you. College football will give it to basketball. Every NFL, they'll give it to you every stinking day. They'll give it to you. They'll give you something stupid, but rarely, if ever, do we go to French women's soccer for our stupidity of the day. I know that we always go to the Nancy Kerrigan and the rival with Tanya Harding. There's been movies. Tanya Harding I think she's been everything from a professional wrestler to an author, to a stripper, to a porn star. I think that's where she's been. But at the end of the day, this is the best, weirdest, stupidest, dumbest, most ridiculous story, I think, of the entire year. You and I were teammates. We're driving home. We go to dinner. We pull up in front of so-and-so's house. Couple dudes come out. Now, I'm no private investigator. I'm no Columbo here. I'm no Joe Mannix. Those are old references. I'm no CSI Las Vegas. But the first person that I would ask, what the hell happened here, would be the persons whose house we pulled up for in front of where the men came out. How did y'all know that they were going to be at this particular house? That's the first person I would question. The first thing that I would ask. Diallo's house. Hey, yo, Diallo. What's going on around here? What's happening around here? What the hell are you doing? It's the greatest story. I do a segment called What the Hell Wednesday. I think we're going to start What the Hell Wednesday on this show. That is the epitome of What the Hell Wednesday. I mean, you just do not get that kind of action anywhere else than, I guess, French women's soccer. That's some competitive people. Like, I was always a bad teammate, not going to lie. I was always rooting for the guy that was playing ahead of me at Indiana when I was a player to play bad. I wanted him to play bad. I did not want him to play well. No. Because I wanted to play. We all want to play. Everybody wants to play. I wasn't a good enough teammate. All right? So, but I wasn't going to kneecap anybody. And I'm glad my teammates didn't want to kneecap me, because I tell you what, iron bars to the leg, well, that's not very good. So, all right, there you go. That story, that's an interesting story. We're going to come back. I got some football to get to. 10:45, we're going to have my friend Alan Cashman. He's going to join us. I want to talk about some football games over the weekend. I got the Titans. I think the Jags and the Colts are interesting. I think there's a lot of interesting college football games as we move forward. I really do. I think college football this weekend is going to separate themselves a lot. I'll get into that when we come back. As I said, Alan Cashman. And I have a sack up coming up here too. It involves the University of Texas. It involves the University of Texas, a strong traditional brand in the world of college football, being soft as my backside. All right, we'll come back with all of that. Don't go anywhere. Tell your friends. Join us on YouTube. Go to @Outkick on Twitter. You can join us there. We got a lot of places you can join us. Hang in there with us. Hey, we are back. Don't at me. I'm just a guy sitting in his basement screaming. That's what I was described as on the YouTube channel. Thanks to people watching on the YouTube channel. We'll build this up, and we're going to have a great time here as we move through the show, baby Bubba. I got a guy on the YouTube channel. I'm being interactive. Roger Klemp says, great, you're having Cashman on. One of the 6 people who still tolerates you. Well, it's actually 5. When my father died, it was 6, but now it's 5. But that's all right. I'm not mad about it. I mean, the world goes on, man. Hey, the world needs haters, too. I welcome haters. Go to the YouTube channel, Roger Klemp. Somebody asked him if I stole his girlfriend. I don't know. Anyway, I'm a bad guy, and please let me know. I got no problem with it. But I appreciate you watching, both on YouTube and certainly at Outkick on Twitter. I appreciate all the comments, good and bad. Let's get going here into some NFL and college football stuff. I don't love the slate in the NFL. I don't love it. Saints and the Titans, we talked to Paul Kuharski about it. You know, the idea who's going to start at quarterback. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, Taysom Hill's the guy, right? Taysom Hill's the guy everybody wants to have start at quarterback. Well, hey, that's fine. But, you know, Trevor Siemian's been okay. Jameis Winston's out for the year, which is unfortunate because I know a lot of people aren't, but I'm a big Jameis Winston fan. I really am. I like Jameis Winston. I had a chance to meet him one time. I thought he was kind of the, energetic kind of guy. You know what I mean? I thought he was the kind of guy, be kind of fun to be around. I know he acted a fool in college, and we're all supposed to, oh, my God, that's who he is. A lot of people act a fool in college. I'll be honest with you, my college roommate, 7'2", Uwe Blab, and I got in a fist fight on my car, in front of a bunch of people at the end of a party. Glad there wasn't any cameras. You know what I mean? But anyway, I got to tell you, this game looks like a letdown for me for the Titans. It really does. Tennessee's a 2.5-point favorite, and that's great. But if I'm betting this game, which I probably am, I'm probably going to take the Titans because I don't mind 2.5. That line doesn't bother me. But what I don't like is, I have a saying, water finds its level. Water finds its level. And at some point, without Derrick Henry, water's going to find its level, and they're facing a really, really good coach coming up here this weekend. But I'm going to take the 2.5. All right, a couple of other games that I wanted to get to. Jaguars and the coach. I love that all of you, not all of you, but many people don't like Urban Meyer. So what you're telling me, well, Urban Meyer, he can't coach at this league. Really, he's not as good as Joe Judge. He's not as good as Matt Rule. He can't sling it around like Cliff Kingsbury, really. Urban Meyer is one of the most iconic football coaches in the country. Urban Meyer has won as much or more than anyone not named Nick Saban in the history of college football. And I say this all the time. I don't know if you paid attention to this, but Urban Meyer has the Jaguars winning 2 of their last 3. One in London. Now, they had a dog in between it, and they're not uber talented. But Urban Meyer coming in against the Colts is an interesting deal. I got to take the Jaguars and 10 points. What bothers me is that the Jaguars do lay eggs. What bothers me for the Colts, or actually why I would take the Colts and 10, is because the Colts beat bad teams. I mean, it's literally like what they do. They'll beat the hell out of some bad teams. They don't beat really good teams. They haven't won against a playoff team in their last 8 tries. But they'll beat the hell out of some bad teams. And the Jags are not a great team. So I'm going to take the Jags in the points because of 2 things. One, I'm totally biased because I like Urban Meyer. And 2, 10's a lot in the NFL. All right. The Jets at home with Mike White against the Bills. We love the Bills, right? Everybody loves the Bills. Oh, the Mafia. Bills, if you get drunk and jump on a table, my God, how great is that? That is the best thing ever. But they haven't played very well. 9-6 is what they scored. I know Josh Allen's supposed to be the next big thing, and I think he is. But I'll say this for Mike White. I know that people in New York are really down on Zach Wilson. I know they're really down on Zach Wilson because he hasn't played well. I know they're really down on Zach Wilson because he was laughing on the sidelines during a blowout, and Zach Wilson felt it because later on in that game, he was on the sideline reading like he was really back into it. So he heard about it. But I'll also say this, Mike White, the kid out of Western Kentucky, looked pretty good on his first drive against the Colts last week. That's on top of the over 400 yards from the week before. It was fortunate for the Colts that Mike White got hurt. Unfortunate, very unfortunate actually, for the Jets because Mike White looked pretty damn good to me. Panthers, who stink, Sam Darnold, Waters found its level against the Cardinals. Aren't the Cardinals the most amazing thing you've seen? I mean, I talked about this, I think, on Monday's show. The Cardinals, without their quarterback, Kyler Murray, the Cardinals, without their two wide receivers, A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins, and then Chase Edmonds gets hurt right away, man. I mean, he gets hurt second play of the game. The Cardinals end up going ahead and winning. If you think I'm dumb enough to bet against the Cardinals, you're nuts. But 10.5 seems like a lot as well. I would take that down to 10. I don't like the hook. Got beat on the hook last night. I had Michigan 12.5. Very messy, sloppy, ridiculous game. Michigan ended up winning by 12. Well, you know what that means? That means we get our ass kicked. We don't win. And I'm not happy about it. A lot of people on the YouTube chat, not Naptown, 3127, no shot. Colts win by 17. Talent level is so different. If the Colts lose that game, Frank and Eberflus better start packing. If the Colts lose that game, the season's over. All right, let's just be honest. The season's over for teams already. But the Colts right now, 3 games back of the Tennessee Titans, 4 when you count the tiebreak. Colts lose that, season's over, away you go. Adios, goodbye. It's over. It's done. Don't at me. Do not at me because that deal is done, and it is done big time. And I mean big freaking time. That's how important that game is. But I don't like the Panthers at all. I think the Panthers stink. Why aren't people talking about Matt Rule coming from college not being able to coach? Because he was like a line coach for 10 minutes in the NFL? The thing about Urban just astonishes me, and I am an Urban fan without question. I'm an Urban Meyer fan. I'll always be an Urban Meyer fan. If you don't like Urban Meyer, God bless you. But I'm an Urban Meyer fan. Colts better win the game. Colts need to win the game. Colts have to win the game. All right, let's shift to college. See, I think this is a pretty good slate of college games. I do. I think this is a really good slate. First game up, Michigan, Penn State. Now, 2 things with this game. Number 1, it's win or go home for Michigan. Let's be honest. They're sitting there in like 6th place in the college football playoff. 6th place. Think about this. Ahead of Michigan State, and that's got everybody crabby. But I see what they're doing there. What difference does it make? 6th or 7th, 7th or 6th, it's all going to play out. But Michigan going to Happy Valley, it's win or go home. Michigan loses this one, they're out of the college football playoff. They're out, have no chance to get into the Big Ten championship game, which is going to be here in Indianapolis. And Penn State, even though they're sitting there 6-3, I mean, if James Franklin is really going to be a contender for all these big-time jobs, whether it's USC, Florida, if it comes, whatever, you better start winning some football games. You better start winning some meaningful football games. Penn State's got the defense to do it. They really do. The Clifford kid at quarterback's pretty good. I think he's a tough kid. The defense is going to have to carry the day. And I got to tell you, this is basically a pick 'em game, -1. I got to tell you, I'm not betting this game because I don't know which way to go. I honestly don't know which way to go. I loved Penn State's defense when I saw them. Actually, every time I've seen them, I think they've been very good. All right, Oklahoma's 9-0. Baylor had a bad loss last week. Oklahoma controls its own destiny. You're not going to keep an undefeated Oklahoma team out. They got to go to Waco. This is not going to be easy. There's going to be a hell of a crowd. There's going to be a little bit of anger from Baylor. There's going to be all kind of different things going on. I just see this as a tough game. I think this is a really, really, really tough game for Oklahoma. But I'll also say if they get it done and they win the football game, they're going to move way up in the college football standings. This is a road win. College football has become a lot like college basketball. But I say this all the time. For everybody except Cincinnati, it's going to play itself out. Cincinnati really can't play itself out. I'm going to give the 5.5. I'm going to take Oklahoma, whether it's Williams or whether it's Rattler at the quarterback. I don't know. What do they say? Colts used to have a really bad coach here named Chuck Pagano. And Chuck Pagano's saying was iron sharpens iron. Yeah, okay. So I guess if you're, Caleb Williams and the kid Rattler, if iron sharpens iron, there's pretty good competition going on. Maybe both are better, and maybe Oklahoma really jumps up, but they're sitting here 9-0. Here's the deal. Fans look at things and they go, well, they're 9-0. Well, they're 9-0. I got an ongoing debate about me being loyal to my friends on the YouTube channel. I am absolutely not loyal to Bob Knight. No. Why? Bob Knight wasn't loyal to me. I was loyal to him 16 years. That's enough. Cincinnati, in the Jason Benetti game, it's Friday night at South Florida. It's a 23-point spread. Cincinnati needs to be up 23 at halftime. South Florida's 2-7. Cincinnati, a lot of whining, bitching, moaning. I get it. As I said yesterday, people always throw slogans back at you. Every game counts is the college football slogan on ESPN. Every game counts. All right. So people throw that back. Well, Cincinnati should be number 1 in the country if every game counts, or number 2 behind Georgia. Every game doesn't count. It's a great slogan. It's a TV slogan. Doesn't mean it's real life. Of course, every game doesn't count. If I'm playing an SEC schedule and Cincinnati's over here playing Tulane and Tulsa and playing them close to Naval Academy, every game's different. But what they're saying is every game counts so that you watch it. Cincinnati needs to win big. I think they will. I don't think Cincinnati's great, but I do think Cincinnati, I don't think Cincinnati is, what's the right word? Great enough. Great enough. So, Georgia, Tennessee, do not sleep on my Vols. You're going to sleep on my Vols, aren't you? I saw in person Tennessee at Alabama. That was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, and then it opened up with some mistakes. Now, again, you hear me say it all the time. Victory favors a team making the fewest mistakes. All right? Well, guess what? You can't make mistakes against Alabama, and you cannot make mistakes against Georgia. You just simply cannot. And if you're going to get your ass beat. Well, Tennessee, if they learn from those mistakes, I'll take the 20 in Tennessee. Tennessee coming off a big win against Kentucky. And here's the deal with that. I always say pick against the team that is awful coming off a big win. I don't think Tennessee's awful. I'm going to get that to 21. I'm going to take it at 21. I don't think Tennessee's awful at all. Probably the most interesting game of the weekend. I am not going to totally, completely believe in Purdue. All right? I'm not going to do it. Purdue's 6-3. They're ranked. It's all good. They have big wins. Oh, man, at Iowa. Michigan State. These are monster wins. These are top 5 wins. Second in the country, Iowa. David Bell is the best wide receiver in the country. If you don't know who David Bell is, I cannot help you. David Bell is, he's like Jerry Rice. He's the only guy, I'm going to go this route. He's the only guy that I've seen that compares to Jerry Rice. Here's why. All these other wide receivers that came out of college came out as pains in the ass. What did Michael Crabtree ever do? Des Bryant. All these guys are pains in the ass. Jerry Rice just showed up undervalued and went ahead and won. That's what he did. He won. He set records. He worked harder than everybody. He caught the ball. He did all these things, and he became a Hall of Famer, and he became arguably the greatest wide receiver ever. David Bell has a lot of that in him, the wide receiver from Purdue. David Bell is understated. David Bell somehow, some way gets open. David Bell catches everything. And Aiden O'Connell's starting to sling it, over 500 yards passing against a Mel Tucker defense. By the way, is Mel Tucker doing what people do and live on the residuals of the discipline of the previous coach? I don't know. It's a 21-point spread. I'm going to take the Boilers in 21. There was this period of time in the middle of the season where Ohio State beat the living hell out of teams, whether it was Maryland or Indiana. They just whomped them. I feel like that slowed down a little bit. See, I feel like C.J. Stroud has slowed that down just a little bit. I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that you get on different runs during the season. This is why Benetti always said I should call this the what's really going on. You get on different runs. Like Cincinnati, early in the season, Indiana was considered good. Cincinnati got in there, went toe-to-toe. Indiana made some mistakes. Cincinnati got it done. Then they had to go to Notre Dame. Man, they went toe-to-toe. The big buildup. Can you imagine in that program the buildup for those two games early in the season, particularly when it came out? And it came out that Indiana was 17th. And now all of a sudden, I'm not saying there's a letdown, but there is a letdown. You feel it when you're inside of a program. Now it's Tulsa. Now we got to travel here. Now we go to South Florida. You got to get it back. And usually really good teams get it back. So I do think Cincinnati is going to play much better and get up big at half. I would take whatever the points are first half Cincinnati. But back to the Purdue-Ohio State thing. Ohio State had a come-to-Jesus meeting after they beat Oregon. They had one of those like, we're going to shift around Kerry Coombs, the longtime or back and forth defensive coordinator. All right, we lost to Oregon. We got to start beating people big, and they beat the hell out of them. Then all of a sudden, teams started playing better. Games become, kind of dogfights. You win, which is the most important thing when you're Ohio State. You win by enough, which is the second most important thing when you're Ohio State. But you're not crushing people. Now, let me take you to Purdue. Purdue, there's a time, and it was pretty recent, where Jeff Brom, the head coach, better get a win. I don't think anybody expected him to go to Iowa City based on Iowa City being second in the country. But Jeff Brom, he did not have the faithful behind him. That Iowa game got the faithful behind him. They came back, lost to Minnesota. Needed wins, got one, massive one. Now it seems like Purdue's the most stable it's been in the Jeff Brom era. Purdue, up and down, Tyler Trent game. Last game Ohio State lost in the Big Ten was a Tyler Trent game, like in 17 or whenever it was. Lots going on since then. But the truth of the matter is, this might be the most stable footing Purdue's been on. As I said, McConnell slinging it. David Bell catching it. Horvath is back. Their running game non-existent, but just enough last time out against Michigan State. I'm going to take the 21 points. I'm going to take the 21 points and Purdue. I don't think Purdue has a real shot to win the game. I don't think Purdue does. But it ain't going to surprise me if this doesn't come down to one or two possessions, one possession at the end of the game. It really won't. Let me recap for you. Michigan is just simple, win or go home. And man, if you're Jim Harbaugh, you're 9-1, 8-1. You got all these wins. You've actually won a lot of football games at Michigan, but does anybody care? Oh, hell no. Oklahoma, you control your own destiny. Beat Baylor, beat Oklahoma State, win the Big 12 championship game, you're in the college football playoff. Isn't it amazing, though? You got to go undefeated now. It's crazy. Cincinnati, you don't necessarily control your own destiny. You got to win, and you got to win big. You don't have games in there that can prop you up. Don't sleep on Tennessee, people. Don't do it, baby. No, 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 no. But I do think Georgia wins the game. Probably cover, maybe a backdoor deal. I wouldn't take 20. I'd take 21. And then Purdue, I spoke to you about. Purdue, to me, interesting. If they get blown out, I will not only be disappointed because, frankly, I like Purdue, but I'll be a little bit shocked. I will. I'll be a little bit shocked. Let me go back to the NFL for just one thing. I had a conversation earlier with Paul Kuharski, all right? Paul Kuharski talked about the Titans and what they've been able to do. At some point, and this is what makes their game with the New Orleans Saints interesting. I was just thinking about this as I was talking. Sometimes you don't have to know who's going to do what. You don't have to know the strategy. You know, good gamblers, good bettors, guys that play hold'em, play against the man, not the cards. This is a game that if you're looking for a pick, I got to tell you, I'd move it to 3 and I'd take New Orleans. You beat all these teams, right? And this is why I say Tannehill is going to be in the conversation for most valuable player at the end of the year. If Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback, can put the New Orleans Saints or can get a victory against the New Orleans Saints, you're going to start hearing it because there's no Derrick Henry. Adrian Peterson, I can't imagine running for more than 50 yards. A.J. Brown is absolutely fantastic. Julio Jones has been non-existent. Nick Westbrook has been a godsend. But it's going to be Tannehill that gets this done. He's already gotten it done against 4 or 5 pretty damn good teams in pretty difficult situations, man. It's going to be fascinating to see. A lot of chatter on the YouTube chat. James Murphy, Bama loses another game, they're out. I agree with that. OU loses once, they're out. I'm not sure about that, but I think so. Ohio State loses, they're out. I agree with that. I do. I agree with that. I think that Ohio State loses another game. I think Ohio State is done. And rightfully so. I don't think there's any real doubt about that. And I don't think you do either. I don't think anybody does. I think we all agree. So I'll agree with you so far, James Murphy. Oregon loses again. They're out. There's very much a path for UC to get in the playoffs. I don't disagree with that. But you got to also watch who's coming up from behind you. Notre Dame in there. I wouldn't say for certain Alabama's out. I would have them out. I would absolutely have them out. But I wouldn't totally put them out. Ohio State, I would. Notre Dame, I agree with the YouTube chat. They're overrated. You can say whatever you want. But you know what Notre Dame does? They freaking win every game. Except maybe one. Honest to God, I've said this so wrong, so often. Notre Dame people complain, they bitch, they whine, they moan, they always have. It doesn't matter who the freaking coach is. They bitch, whine, and moan as much as anybody about their coach. Guess what their coach does? He just wins all these freaking games. When's really the last time Notre Dame lost to somebody that they were supposed to beat? When's the last time? In theory, they're supposed to beat Cincinnati at home. But this is a different year. Were they really supposed to beat Cincinnati at home? Really? I know they have lost, I'm sure. But I'm telling you, man, Brian Kelly, they don't lose at home. Really. And they don't lose the teams that they're supposed to beat. They won't lose to USC this year. Well, I guess they already played them. They won't lose to Stanford. They won't lose these games. They don't. And they'll finish 11-1. And people will complain because depending on what happens, they'll come from behind and get in the playoffs. And that's just the way the world's going to be. Because it's that way every year. And people every stinking year lose their minds on Brian Kelly. And every year, Brian Kelly gets a bunch of wins. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we come back. God, it feels good. I have a coach in college football. in college sports that I can get behind. I do. And I have a team in college football that because of what they forced the coach to do and then exposed it, there's a team, a brand, a big-time brand in college football that has the softest ass players, and it's no wonder they can't win. It's no wonder that the current players have shamed an incredibly, maybe the most proud institution brand in college football. I'll tell you who the coach is, and I'll tell you the team, and we'll call out some morons when we come back. Hey, welcome back. This show was going to be called Sack Up with Dan Dakich. It's a family mantra. It's a family mantra that basically says, hey, look, man, I don't want to hear it. My parents were teachers. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Sorry, but I don't want to hear it. And what that basically means is, you want to go to school, you feel sick, yeah, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything about it. The coach did that, sack the hell up, and away we go. All right, Steve Sarkisian is the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. And Texas is legitimately one of the iconic brands in college sports, Texas football. I mean, and when you coach there or when you play there, you've got to live to a certain level. Texas has basically seen its season implode. I mean, it really has. It's seen it implode. It's a mess. Just got whooped by Iowa State. And there is no universe given the haves and the have-nots. And I know Campbell's a really good coach, and I know that Iowa State has done a great job, with their program and all that. I get it. But let me tell you something. You shouldn't be able to beat Texas like they do. Here's the deal. So Bo Davis is an assistant coach. Big old dude, man. Big old line coach. Looks like what you'd think a line coach would look. Bald head, big goatee, serious eyes. A serious dude. Serious dude. So they're on the bus after they get their ass beat by Iowa State. And apparently players are laughing. They're not doing nothing. So Coach Davis, who is now officially my favorite football coach, gets up on the bus, and I'm going to read this, but I'm going to bleep it all out. Some of you MFers need to get in the transfer portal. This blank ain't a game to me, and if you think it's a game, get the F off of this bus. Got my ass kicked, and you mother blankers want to laugh? This blank is real. You think it's a god joke? I'm tired of this ish. Didn't say ish. Because this ish is GD real, and you want to laugh and joke? F that. Well, it's inappropriate. It's counterproductive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're yelling like that doesn't, the hell it don't. The hell it doesn't. That's exactly what a coach should do. That's exactly the language that a coach should use. You ever sit and listen to how players talk to each other? That's how players talk to each other. And I got to tell you, and this goes back to the world we live in and the ass kissing of 18 to 23-year-olds. You know what? I would kick, just me, I would kick whoever leaked that video off the team out of the school. I'd say you're not worthy of being at our school. You're not worthy of being a Longhorn. We have a long-standing tradition of honor and integrity and toughness and competitiveness and fight here at Texas. And your ass showed yourself to be just a little sniveling, little pain in the ass, entitled punk. Leave school immediately. That's what I would do. And I would take whatever lawsuit and I would take whatever protests come and I would sit in my office, look at everybody, do a press conference and say, bring whatever the hell you have. Please bring whatever the hell you have. Because people that protest go away eventually and they're on to the next thing. Bo Davis, I love you. Bo Davis, you said exactly what coaches should say. 18 to 23-year-old entitled student athletes don't know their ass from third base. And if they don't care enough to represent the institution, if they don't care enough to represent the people that played at that place before them, the coaches that are working their brains out, the strength coach that's with you every freaking morning, the academic coach that cares more about the academics than the player does, then screw you players. Get the hell off the bus, get in the transfer portal, and let some other coach make some kind of excuse for your jackassian behavior. It's literally that simple. You can't trust. I used to have a rule, you couldn't do it now, no cell phones on road trips. I threw one kid's cell phone off the bus one time. I don't apologize for it. It said no cell phones. That's counterproductive. No, it's not. It's always counterproductive to the little professor or the little media guy or the little whatever. It's not counterproductive to the person who gets reamed out. It's not counterproductive to the culture of a team. Accountability is never counterproductive unless it's fake accountability or lying accountability. But University of Texas football players, you have shown yourself to be the softest, most distrusted group in the country. And if I were a Texas booster, if I were a Texas season ticket holder, if I were a Texas alum, I would tell my university, until you identify that kid and get his ass off of our team, I want my money back. It's exactly what I would do. And I would praise the living hell out of Coach Bo Davis, because Coach Bo Davis gives a rat's ass about the history, the culture, and preserving and enhancing that history and that culture. See, that's what we need more of in this country. We don't need, well, I'm going to take a video of you. I'm keeping the receipts. I'm going to show this video. This is going to go viral, but I'm going to hide out. I got no problem. I have no problem whoever took the video, whether it's a kid, a trainer, a manager, a trainer, student trainer, a coach, whatever, comes out and says, this happened, I don't like it, I'm exposing this, you all make your decision. I got no problem with that. But some sneaky, twerpy-ass person, and that's exactly, I don't care how old they are, that's exactly what they are, that takes this video. Can you see him right now? I got a video. I got a video. We got video of the coach. We're going to put it out. We got to put it out. It's the coach. The coach yelled at us. Oh my God, the coach yelled at us. I'm so sad. Let's put it out there. It's going to go viral and we're going to be TikTok stars. That's right. We're going to be TikTok stars. We're going to be stars on TikTok. My Instagram page is going to blow up. But the thing about it is, nobody, and I mean nobody, ever has the stones to do what I said. Nobody has the stones to say, hey, I did it, man. It's a bad culture they got right now at Texas. It's a bad group they got right now at Texas. It's a terrible culture. It's a terrible group. Anybody that would even think of doing that exposes what a god-awful culture it is. And I got to tell you, I would not even a little bit mind if I saw 2 or 3 days from now a bunch of kids from Texas be put by the coaching staff in the damn transfer portal. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Here's an article. What happened is a microcosm of how things are. Go inside the mind of whoever leaked that video. My coach is yelling at us because we're laughing after losing our 4th game in a row. So instead of listening and being accountable, I'm going to record him. Hopefully he comes under fire and has to apologize. Maybe he even loses his job if I'm lucky, because people are telling me I play for Texas and it's fun. But having Bo Davis yell at me is not fun. That's exactly the mindset. Nobody ever said this was fun. Winning is fun. Getting your ass beat, and I know I was at Indiana with Coach Knight. We had the worst record Coach Knight had in the Big Ten. Winning is fun. After is fun. Practice, sitting in the locker room with the guys is fun. We had a guy, Randy Whitman, man. Randy was our captain, was an All-American. Randy Whitman could fart on call. Like, I don't remember everything that went on in the locker room after games or before games or after practice or before practice, but I remember Randy Whitman rolling on his back. Those are the things you remember. No one said every day is supposed to be fun. You're getting your ass beat 4 in a row. You get beat by Iowa State. So Texas, I root for Bo Davis, but I hope you lose every damn game from this point on, because you're the softest, most embarrassing football team in the country. I got a friend coming up. His name is Alan Cashman. According to a guy on our Facebook or on our YouTube channel, he's one of 5 people left that can tolerate me. My wife can tolerate me. My mother tolerates me. My sister. My daughter definitely does. Got my girl dad shirt on. My son, I'm not sure he does. My brother, I'm not sure he. It may only be 3 people that tolerate me. It may not be 5. I think Stephanie and Lauren and Donnie tolerate me on the show, I think. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But anyway, one of the 5 people that George says on our YouTube chat that can tolerate me is joining us next, and you're going to win some money. The dude is on fire with college football and NFL football gambling. Alan Cashman, at the Cashman Wins. Those of you that are on the YouTube chat and you listen to my show, the president tolerates me, Sean Black. You know the Cashman. Get your pens and paper ready. I get my pen ready because the Cashman's going to win me some money. He's next.
Let me put it to you this way. On my next guest, when you go to our YouTube chat, it simply says, in Cashman we trust. At the Cashman Wins, thecashmanwins.com. This isn't paid. I think he's the smartest handicapper there is. Alan Cashman, my good friend, nice enough to join us. Hey, let's get right to it, big dog. First game you want to talk about is East Carolina at Memphis. Right now, I've got Memphis 4.5-point favorite. Give it to me.
Yep, I see also some 5.5s out there today, and I actually bought this up from 5.5 to get it to 6. So shop around. I always recommend using multiple books just because of cases like this. But East Carolina comes in here. They're 6-2-1 against the spread this season. They've covered their last 3 road games, including covering 13.5 at Houston, just losing by a touchdown there. Pretty good Houston team. ECU's defense, they're allowing just 294 yards per game in their last 4, allowing only 4.5 yards per pass in their last 3, which is phenomenal. They've got a halfback, Keaton Mitchell, going for 7.5 yards per carry this season. Now, this Memphis run defense, they've allowed over 200 yards rushing in 3 of their last 6 games and allowed 198 rushing yards in another one of those. So Memphis comes in off a big win over SMU last week. Could be a letdown spot, look-ahead situation, because they've got Houston on deck, and Houston's really good. Memphis typically has a letdown in history off of a win against the spread. They're only 3-11 against the spread their last 14 following a straight-up win. Memphis also 4-11 their last 15 conference games against the spread. ECU 14-3 against the spread the last 17 meetings against Memphis here, and they're 7-0 against the spread the last 7 conference games. And also, I talked to you last week on your afternoon show. This is shaping up to be a system play based on one of my computer models that is 16-2 against the spread. When this model and I agree on a play, I'll know more for sure Saturday if this will be a system play, but this is a pick this week, ECU +6.
All right, there you go. Take ECU +6. Miami of Florida is -3 at Florida State. This used to be a premier game, Cash, man. What's going to happen here?
It was a big rivalry. I got this at 2.5. Miami coming in. They've won 3 in a row. They're getting really good quarterback play right now from the redshirt freshman Tyler Van Dyke. Van Dyke, he comes in ranking 19th in the nation in passing yards per game. He's thrown for at least 325 yards in each of his last 3. That's the first time any Miami quarterback has done it since Bernie Kosar did it in 1984. They've got halfback Jalen Knighton, who, since he's come back from suspension, he's got 7 touchdowns, 125 scrimmage yards per game. Had a career high last game rushing against Georgia Tech for 162. Florida State comes in a respectable running game, but they're averaging just 188 passing yards per game. They complete just 57.9% of their passes in their home games. A lot of trends going against Florida State here. 3-7 against the spread. Their last 10 is at home dog. 1-5 against the spread. Their last 6 conference games, and they're 0-5 against the spread. Their last 5 games following a straight-up loss. Miami took last year's meeting 52-10. I like Miami, what they're doing right now. I'm going to take them -2.5 this weekend at Florida State.
Were you surprised that number was so low, or is that a function of a home field?
Home field. It's home field. It was probably a pick 'em on a maybe not a Miami -3 maybe on a neutral field.
Washington State, Oregon.
Okay, I'm going Washington State here, +14. Oregon has that signature win over Ohio State earlier this season, but I think Oregon's one of the weaker number 3 teams in the country this late in the year that I can remember in recent years. Oregon gave up over 600 yards in that win at Ohio State. They'd have allowed over 400 yards to Arizona and Cal, and Arizona's offense not very good. Colorado, another team not very good offensively, number 119 in the nation in scoring. They go to Oregon, put up 29. Oregon has a loss at Stanford, who isn't very good this year. Washington State has already beat Stanford. Oregon runs the ball well, but far from elite in other categories. Their pass defense, they're number 88 in the nation in pass defense. Washington State, they've been through a lot this year with their coach being fired due to the COVID vaccine mandate. Still, they come in here winners of 4 of their last 5. Their quarterback, Jalen DeLoria, leads the Pac-12 with 17 touchdowns, has 3 touchdowns in a game in 4 different games this season. Washington State went to Arizona State a couple weeks ago, really controlled the game, won that one 34-21. And this Washington State defense leads the Pac-12 with 20 takeaways. That's also 5th in the nation. So I think Washington State gives Oregon a game here. Washington State 6-0, their last 6 games, 5-0 against the spread. Their last 5 is a dog. Oregon 0-6 against the spread their last 6 home games. So I'm going to take Washington State plus the 14 here.
Told you he's going to be the smartest guy you hear, and he's going to have the best numbers. I mean, the dude is just the best. I mean, he doesn't just play games because they're on TV. Like I said this earlier in our show when we started the show, we're trying to make money here. We're not just trying to say, oh, well, the Browns and the Patriots are playing. I don't know. No, my man, the cash man, he is all over it. All right, my beloved Indiana Hoosiers, big boy, and Rutgers football.
Indiana, I see 6.5, 7. They're favored at home. I read the Rutgers quarterback, Vidal. He's trending towards playing after leaving last game with an injury. Both teams really challenged offensively. I think each team's only scored 20 or more points once in each of their last 5 games. So having some trouble there. Rutgers did hold Michigan to just 2.9 yards per carry in Ann Arbor several weeks ago. Only lost that game by a touchdown. Rutgers -8 in turnovers their last 5 games. That's a concern. Neither team running the ball very well. If Vidal plays for Rutgers, they've got the advantage at quarterback. Probably come down to Rutgers taking care of the football. If they can do so, I think they probably have a good chance to cover in this one. Rutgers 6-0 against the spread their last 6 as a road dog, and they're 8-1 against the spread their last 9 road games. Indiana 1-4 against the spread their last 5 at home, and they're 1-6 against the spread their last 7 overall. So I don't have a play here. It's gonna come. It's just 2 bad teams I don't really want to get in bed with right now.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, man, I really liked Shiano earlier in the year, and now they haven't been very good. Indiana's a train wreck, started 17th, only team in the Big Ten not to win a game, and now they're down to quarterback and Donovan McCulley. That was supposed to be the red shirt. All right, let's go. Let's go Colts. What do you got on the Colts taking on the beloved Urban Meyer Jacksonville Jags, a team that always gives the Colts trouble, or usually?
Very true. Colts defense gave up nearly 500 yards on Thursday night last week to the Jets. We played a third-string quarterback most of the game. Colts have allowed 64 points over the last 2 games. Not really very encouraging right there. Jacksonville's an offense that runs the ball better than they do passing the ball. Number 16 in rushing, number 24 in passing. Now, Jacksonville, they've only scored over 25 or over 21 points in a game once all season, have just 15 points over the last 2 games. They did squeak out a win there against Buffalo. But like you said, Jacksonville always gives the Colts trouble. They're 10-1-1 the last 12 meetings against Indianapolis. You have to consider that. Big win for the Jacks over the Bills. I don't want to overblow that win, though. Buffalo looks like they're hitting a little 3 or 4 game lull that a lot of these teams hit during the course of a rigorous season. I don't really want to back either team against the spread right now, but the total is 47. And the last time I looked, so Jacksonville scored at least 19 points in 5 of their first 6 games. Over 47 is hit in 4 of the last 5 Colts games. And with the Colts defense right now, this really feels like a 30-20 or 31-20 type of game. So if you had to play the game, I'd probably look at the over in this one right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. At first glance, you say the under, but then when you dive in like you did, the over seems to always hit with the Colts. They end up either giving up points late. We saw it against Baltimore when it was boom, 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 4 straight touchdowns. The game you really like is New Orleans and the Titans, correct? What do you got there? I
grabbed Tennessee Monday morning at -2.5. The NFL is so week to week anymore. I only a half a unit on most of my NFL plays, but I could not resist grabbing this Monday morning with the Saints quarterback situation. I saw a lot of Trevor Siemian at Denver. He was not very impressive. Taysom Hill, if he plays, he's more of a gadget guy, it feels like. So this offense was already number 28 in the league before Jameis Winston went down. So it was not a great offensive group to begin with. Now Alvin Kamara has a knee injury. He missed practice yesterday, so he might be up in the air for Sunday as well. Titans come in, they're red hot, 5 straight wins. Their defense has 11 takeaways in that streak. Their defense now number 8 in the NFL against the rush. If they can take away the run and force some passes here with Simeon, probably an opportunity to increase their takeaways given the Saints quarterback situation right now. Titans defense also holding opponents to 52.8% in the red zone right now. I think that's 8th in the league. No Derrick Henry for the Titans. That's a good Saints run defense also, but the Saints pass defense, number 27th in the league. So this could be an opportunity to finally get Julio Jones involved, get A.J. Brown going. The whole numbers dynamic and advantage really changes with no Derrick Henry, but I look at these 2 teams. I don't think the Saints go on the road with a backup quarterback like Simeon and win a game right now over a team like Tennessee the way they're going. So I got to back Tennessee minus the 2.5 here.
I think the Titans defense has been really good too. I think the kid from Indianapolis, D'Amico Autry, has been a huge addition to that crew, man. That guy's played great, Cash, man. He really has. He's been terrific.
Agree with you.
At the Cashman Wins, if you want to sign up, it's 1 year, $52. You'll win that this weekend, the way the Cashman's been going on my show. It's the cashmanwins.com. Check it out and see what you think, because this is not a guy – this isn't a guy that tells you, well, we're going to call and give our secret lock of the day. No, he studies it. He's got analytics. He's got computers. And he only bets the games that he thinks you're going to win. And that's kind of, if you want to bet your own game, then do that. He's not telling you not to do that, but he's giving you East Carolina against Memphis, and he's giving you the analytics, which means we're going to win a lot of money this weekend. You're the man, Cash Man. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, we'll see you.
That's our guy, the Cashman, Alan Cashman. Great dude. And again, we're in it to win it. I mean, we're not in it to jack around here. We're not in it to, hey, man, we're going to lose. We're going to do whatever. We're in this stuff to get some W's. As the great Brett Musburger says, we're in it to cash tickets, baby. That's what we're in it for. Hey, look, we are not on tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure why. Outkick 360, the SEC, all that kind of stuff. But I want to thank everybody who has supported us in this first week. It really means a lot. A lot of guys and gals that listen to our show in Indianapolis are over here on the YouTube chat. I see a lot of familiar names: Bill Martin, Will 32, Van Pasterman, Billy, Sean Black. I mean, a lot of guys. And I appreciate everybody giving us a chance, man. And I hope you come back on Monday, whether it's here or whether it's on the Outkick Twitter channel. Also, before I go, I also want to say thank you, and more thank you to our veterans out there. Today is Veterans Day. I know a lot of people buy lunch for veterans, maybe something in the airport, but I'll give you something that I like to do, and I'm going to do it once I leave here and drive downtown. Just sit back and talk. Talk to a veteran. Just ask him how he's doing, if you see one. I'll probably see my man Rocky Carter right there on the corner on the south side of the circle on Meridian Street. I'll probably go down there, drop 100 on him today. Just because I'm thankful for what he did as he went overseas and fought for us. But anyway, I just want to thank you, Ryan Mueller, George Monahan, my friend Robert Shelby, used to be a manager, Devin Underwood, his son Ari's Army man. Stay strong as that little boy fights and beats the living hell out of out of cancer. But have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Thanks to Stephanie and Lauren and Donnie and everybody behind the scenes. We're going to be back here on Monday. Make sure you say hello to a veteran. Thank a veteran today.